Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Pseudo Monday to you. Sorry, still trying to figure. There, that might work. Can't see my face, but it's okay. Um, happy Pseudo Monday. It is Tuesday, day after Labor Day. Hope everybody had a awesome weekend. Um, I know a lot of people were going to do State Fair or Renfest or something like that. I wound up doing nothing. Um, yeah, pretty much nothing. Pretty much, I didn't from the show on Saturday. From the time I got home from that, I don't think I left my apartment till this morning, which is all right. It's all right to do that sometimes. You gotta just veg out and do nothing for a while. Still trying to figure out the hair. Anyway, so I just got back a little bit ago from practice with my old friends Outlaw Saint. And I'm sure those of you that follow Tank have seen the post that I am filling in with them for Sword Metal Fest next weekend. Not this coming up weekend, but the following weekend. Um, so that's going to be exciting. Um, should be fun. I've never even attended this event, so my first time going as a participant will be interesting. Um, the only kind of bummer is we're going on last, and I don't mean headliner last because the last band the last headliner, I believe their set gets done at 12. There is some sort of award ceremony, and we go on at 12:45. So that's the only kind of bummer about it. But I'm still excited as hell to play it. It'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Um, so practicing with those guys last couple of weeks, it's been good. Um, and then Thursday, so 2 days from now, we don't have astronauts practice this week because we're doing two back-to-back shows. Um, but on Thursday, um, will be my first practice with the shall we say kind of reunited Strike 13. So that should be fun. Get back with those guys again. Um, yeah, so that's my week. And then, of course, astronauts are playing Nisons again on Saturday. Um, and if you saw my post, it's earlier because we got there. Okay, so we got there last time, and whenever we play there, we're scheduled from 9:30 to 1:30 because they're open till 2. Um, but once we got there, they have two rooms. If you've never been to Nison's, when you walk in the front door, there's a stage, there's a bar over here, and then there's a hallway where the bathrooms are, and then beyond that is like a bigger room event area, which I've never been back to. I'll probably check it out at Sword Metal Fest because uh, they're splitting between the two stages. Um, but every time we played Nison's, and we played Nison's crap load, probably 7, 8 times by now. There's always some sort of event going on in the back, um, whether it be a wedding or a anniversary or whatever the hell it is. Um, but there's always some event going on in the back, and they only have one sound guy, so he always has to run in between the two events, um, which is fine, which usually works. But this time, for some reason, something on the stage back there was I just overheard Quentin, the sound guy, and Tom, the owner, talking, and something about something back there was overheating and kept on cutting out. I don't know what it was, um, but point being, we were supposed to start at 9:30. We did not end up starting until about quarter to 10, 10 to 10, somewhere in there. So we kind of rushed through first set, took like a 10-minute break, kind of rushed through second set. Not rush, but didn't take a lot of time. And then we're sitting there going, okay, another 10-minute break, and we'll do third set. And somebody mentioned, may have been Quentin, that because Because when we started, he was like, "Yeah, you can play till 12, 12:30, whenever." And I thought that's strange considering we're scheduled to 1:30. Um, but he was saying, and then somewhere along the line, he was saying, "Yeah, that we have been trying to cut the bands off around midnight, and we're going on for our third set, and it's quarter after 12." And I'm like, "Okay, it's kind of weird." So we cut a few songs. We played a little bit short, probably done around one. Um, but we were talking to him after, and we were like, "Okay, so for next week, you want us to be done at midnight?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah. I mean, that would be ideal." And I'm like, "Okay." And we're like, "Okay, well, can we start earlier then? Can we start at like 8? 8:30, 8, somewhere in there?" He's like, "Yeah, you guys want to do 8 to midnight?" And I'm like, "Well, like, yeah, absolutely." He's like, "Okay, cool." Um, so for Saturday, if you want to come out and see us, but always worried that we're starting so late, we will not be. We'll be starting at 8 o'clock. Hopefully that holds true. Because that'd be really awesome to be done and home by before 1. That'd be a really, really nice thing. Um, but other than that, I've got 2 practices. I have a couple of show options on Friday. Um, and if I actually stick to my schedule and do a video on Sunday, I'll tell you about what I did. Um, and what else do I got? I think that's it. But the exciting thing is, it's package day. And this is a special package because if you can read that, that is from the Netherlands. So the only international packages I get are from this band I mentioned many, many times called Sisters of Suffocation. They're a almost all female. They had to get a new drummer who was male, but almost all female death metal band from the Netherlands, who are pretty freaking cool. Let's see what we got. We have stickers and we got a patch. Okay, so we got a note. Let's read the note. It says, "Dear Ryan, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. XXS, XXX, Sisters of Suffocation." That is pretty cool. And we got all kinds of stuff. So I ordered the CD and a t-shirt. And they said they had free patches. They're having a special, I think for whatever weekend I ordered. Every order got a free patch. But they also threw in some stickers, which are pretty cool. Okay, so we'll start with those. So this is the pink one that I already have. I have this on my fridge. They also have, oh, that's badass, a really cool rainbow one. That's pretty cool. That might have to replace, because I'm running out of room in my fridge, guys. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, because I'm probably going to collect way more stickers, so I need somewhere else to put them. I may have to sacrifice some wall space or a door or something. Anyway, and what's this one? Ha. Bitch, please. I don't even have tits. Nice. I don't know what that means, but we'll go with it. And then the patch. Nice bright white logo patch. That's going to look pretty badass on whatever I put it in. The new album, which, let me split this up real quick. Looks like it actually has like a booklet and stuff. So this is their second album. Their first album was called Brutal Queen. And I told you the stories of how I acquired the hard copy of that I won it, which is very cool. This one I bought. This is their second one, Anthology of Curiosities. So we have that. You can't read any of those titles, but that's okay. And then nice packaging, actual book on the inside with, I would assume, drawings and handwritten lyrics. That's pretty cool. There are the sisters on the back. And if you're a fan of death metal and have not heard of these guys, I just saw these guys through their posting on Facebook, and of course I was like, what, an all-female death metal band from the Netherlands? I gotta check that shit out. So Yeah, I did, and they're really, really awesome. So if you're a fan of the death metal, I would definitely check them out. Um, yeah, they're just cool. And again, I think I said somewhere along the line in one of my videos that the chances of them coming here are probably really, really slim. Um, but it'd be awesome if they did, because I know a bunch of bands that would probably open for them happily. Um, if we could get a bill of like, that might be too much, but get a bill of like Hex Vortices and if we could get Gorgatron in it. So Hex Vortices, Gorgatron, maybe Glutton for Punishment, and Scissors of Suffocation. That'd be an awesome bill. And then the T-shirt, nice, nice. So I have this now, and if I don't get any more T-shirts this week, I'll probably be wearing this one at our show on Saturday. That is fucking cool. Okay, so and the album I actually downloaded soon after it came out. I got it off of Bandcamp. Is that where they have their stuff? I think. Um, but now I have a physical copy, which is always good. Always better to have physical copies. Um, and of course, all these badass stickers, and the patch, and the note, which I'll have to put on the side of my desk, which is where I put all my notes and stuff. Um, and yeah, so this is a nice little quick one. Um, I think that's all I got. I believe that is all I got. I don't know how I feel about the new setup. I like the new camera. I'm not sure how I feel about the microphone yet. It does make me feel kind of professional, but I know that I'm not. But yeah, what else is happening? Metallica's in town tonight. If you care about that sort of thing. I kind of stopped going to big arena shows. God, almost 10 years ago. I think the last, not seeing national bands, but going to see national bands in an arena. Because I have since then seen um, stuff at like First Avenue, and when Mill City Nights was still around, I saw like Hell Yeah and Trivium there. Not same show, two different shows. Um, but last big arena show that I saw, it was one of two because I don't remember which one came first. It was either Megadeth, Slayer, and Testament on the in 2010. They were both in 2010, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was Megadeth on the Rust in Peace 20th anniversary tour with Slayer, who so they did Rust in Peace in its entirety, which is awesome because that's, in my opinion, the best Megadeth record. And then you had Slayer doing Seasons in the Abyss in its entirety because that was the 20th anniversary. And then you had Testament, who had just released a new album, the name of which escapes me. But that, okay, and people are probably going to argue with me on that. Testament was good. Megadeth was spectacular. I mean, honestly, they'd just gotten back with Dave Ellefson. And honestly, one of the best sets of metal I think I'd ever seen. It was absolutely spectacular. And then Slayer came on. And Slayer is good always, but I discovered a couple things. Just one thing. That Seasons in the Abyss is probably not the album front to back you want to play live. Because, I mean, outside of the hits, if you can call songs from Slayer hits, being War Ensemble, Dead Skin Mask, title track, Seasons in the Abyss. Outside of that, there's really kind of a lot of filler on that album. I mean, I've always liked that album, listening to it, because you can skip stuff. But sitting there and watching it live, it's a different story. It's a completely different story. And it's not a good one. Sorry. But, I mean, if they would have been doing saw the Heaven live. That would have been cool. Rain and Blood, obviously. Um, that would have been cool, but just something about Seasons didn't front to back didn't quite work live. And the other show I saw that year, I'm still trying, and that was at Roy Wilkins, Roy Wilkins Auditorium, which is a good show, a good show, a good place for shows because, like the last time I saw Megadeth there in 1993, with Suicidal Tendencies opening, there's really not a bad seat. I mean, most places you're on the floor, you're good. You're on kind of first tier, you're good. But at Roy Wilkins, um, first time I saw him with Megadeth and Suicidal, I was literally in the very back row, as far back and as far up as you can get. And I could still see everything perfectly because the venue's not actually that big. It's actually a really good sized venue. Um, it is kind of, if you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. Especially from up in the balcony seats. You look down, you have the stage in front of you, you have the seats, and then it's kind of open on the sides, which I always found kind of weird. Um, but I mean, I've seen. How many shows have I seen there? Probably only like 4 or 5 total. I'm going off on way a tangent, but that's okay. I mean, because I saw Black Crowes there, I saw Anthrax there. I was on the floor for that one. I was on the floor for Anthrax. It was Sound of White Noise tour, 92, 93, somewhere in there. And it was Anthrax, White Zombie, and Quicksand, I believe. And I was on the floor for that one, and that was kind of cool. Because I probably ended up being probably within 10 rows back. Um, and Anthrax was kind of on fire that day, so that was kind of cool. Um, Black Crowes I saw in '95, first date of the Amorica or Bus tour, with the Dirty Dozen brass band opening up. That was really cool. And there I was probably about midway up the seats, and that was awesome. And then yeah, so I saw Megadeth and Suicidal. Excuse me, Megadeth, Suicidal, Black Crowes, Anthrax, and then Megadeth and Slayer. The other arena show, which was at XL, that I went to that year was Tool. And obviously, if you're a Tool fan, you should go see Tool. If you're not a huge Tool fan, but familiar enough with their work so you won't get that bored, I would definitely go. Um, and next time I see Tool, which is probably one of the few big arena shows I'd probably go to, and only for this reason. Just because, backtracking, really, I mean, I know the sound systems have improved a lot over the years, and it sounds better than it did. But that being said, I really still don't believe that hard rock, especially metal, belongs in a big auditorium like that. It's something about it just doesn't sound right, just doesn't feel right. It's I don't know. Just for me personally, that's all I'm saying. Um, and it's not the populist thing, like it's gotten too big. Oh no, it's not that at all. Because you have a band like Iron Maiden, who has been selling out, soccer stadiums in South America for 30 years now. So it's not that. It's just I don't know. Just something about it feels too big, and I really don't need to have that communal experience with that many people. I can have that exact same experience, and probably even a better one watching a bunch of local and regional bands at Lee's or at Club Underground or at the Terminal even. Um, I don't know. It's too big. It's too big, man. It's just too big. Um, but Tool, I would go see again. And this is gonna sound really lame, but if you've ever seen Tool, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I want to be, because when I saw him, okay, it was at XL, so stage is here, and I was up here somewhere in like a VIP weird thing. So I was kind of like over here. So I was kind of kitty corner from the stage looking down. Um, and I decided after that show that if and when I did see Tool again, I wanted to be minimum in the center, preferably on the floor. Just because they have about 10 screens on stage, no exaggeration, and they're all doing something all the time. And it's like this big visual montage just of stuff, and it looks awesome. Um, if you go to see Tool just for the visuals that they're putting out, I would not. I mean, that's the whole reason I would go see them again. Um, and I mean, it's definitely more than just a musical experience. Definitely. Um, but yeah, other than that, I mean, I really have no reason that I can think of to go see a band. I mean, I don't know. Really, okay. And the other thing is that, of course, bands are getting older, and there's not a lot of younger bands of the same. I don't want to say the same caliber, but of the same presence. And again, I don't keep up on modern music, so I could be completely way off base. But it doesn't seem to me that there's a lot of bands that, you know, and I think we've talked about this before, that eventually bands like Metallica and Maiden and Priest and even the quote unquote newer bands, which are 20 years old at this point, bands like Trivium and Lamb of God and bands like that, they're all going to retire someday. And I really don't see, and maybe there is. Please let me know. Um, a band that could take that mantle. Um, I just don't see it. Again, I know we've had this discussion before, guys, but um, and I think I'm lucky in the sense, and people of my age and my generation are lucky in the sense that we got to see that. I mean, I know, the 70s was great and the 60s was great, um, and the 80s, earlier 80s were great, but to be alive to see a band like Metallica, okay, who put out their first album 1983, I was 9. So I was not even aware of them until Justice came out in 89 or 88. Um, when I was like, how old was I in 88? 14. Um, but to see them, you know, just rise from this kind of redheaded, not quite redheaded stepchild, but like little brother that you don't want, you know, hanging around you, clawing their way up, clawing their way up, no radio play, no support, no videos, just clawing their way up and touring and touring and touring and just impressing people left and right and just killing it, getting up there, getting to, to the point where, through the death of Cliff Burton, getting Jason in, you know, making a Justice for All, which is has a much debated album. I personally like that album still. I mean, that was my first exposure really to the band, was seeing the last probably 10 seconds of the video for one, um, and that was enough to hook me. Um, But to see that rise, and then the Black Album happened. They went away for a year and a half, year, whatever it was, and came out with the Black Album, which basically made and cemented their place always as one of the biggest bands on the planet. That put them in Iron Maiden level. You know, that put them at near Beatles level. And to be alive and to see that and to experience that as a metal fan, you know, I've only seen them twice. It was in the same city on essentially the same tour, a year apart. On a tour that essentially, I mean, if you count, I mean, all the touring they did between, you know, like August, September, whenever it was they started of 1991, when the Black Album was released, through the release of Load in 95, they pretty much toured, I mean, on and off for pretty much that 4 years. Um, it was crazy. It was insane. It was something they obviously they can never be repeated. I mean, I think the initial Black Album tour, the evening with shows, that run of shows is still one of the longest tours that anyone has ever, you know, taken on. Outside of maybe, was it the Power Slave tour? Maybe it was Power Slave tour. But yeah, I mean, the amount of, you know, they launched the album in 91. By the time they played Woodstock 94, you know, almost 3 years later to the day, they're essentially still on the Black Album tour because they have not released anything new. That's crazy to me. I mean, that's insane. That's when it all kind of fell apart. But I won't go into that because we're getting long anyway. But what was my point? Stadium Rock. The fact that, I mean, I've seen metal bands in the stadium, obviously. Not a whole lot. That sounded weird. Not a whole lot. But, and this is why I don't think it works, I saw in 2008, 2009, somewhere in there, saw Slipknot on the All Hope Is Gone tour. Me and my stepson Jeremy. It was his birthday, or it was Christmas? I think that was a Christmas present. Show was in like January. Yeah, it must have been January of 09. So they were touring with Trivium and Coheed and Cambria. Coheed and Cambria we didn't know. Trivium we were fans of. Slipknot's obviously we were fans of. And that was at Excel. And Coheed and Cambria were on first. And because they play things a little bit slower and probably a little bit heavier, that worked. Trivium comes up. Or does Trivium open? Trivium might have opened. But because, and again, this was, you know, almost 10 years ago, and they were even younger punks than they are now. The fast stuff just didn't translate, and it just didn't work. So that, I mean, it was good. It was good to see them. They sounded better when I saw them at Mill City Nights for the tour for Silence in the Snow. That was a much better sounding show, just because it was a smaller venue and a venue that I think was better equipped for that type of music. So their set at Excel I don't think worked as well. Coheed and Cambria's set worked, and Slipknot's set worked, just because there was just so much noise. I mean, with 9 people, so much noise coming off the stage that and beautiful noise. I mean, I'm not complaining. You know, it was awesome to see them. Awesome to see them on that tour when things had really they'd kind of come back. I mean, because they'd done first album Iowa, little bit of a hiatus. Did Volume 3, which is where I found them, um, and then went on another little hiatus, and then came back for All Hope Is Gone, and I think they were kind of firing on all cylinders at that point, and it was actually quite an incredible show. Um, but that kind of worked, but Trivium did not work. Certain bands, I guess, work better. When you get your power metal bands, that's a lot of sing along stuff and big choruses. That kind of stuff works. I think that's why Maiden works so well in that arena, that area of arenas, big, lots of people. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Metallica was in town and had really no interest to go see them. I'm sure a crap load of people will be posting videos over the next couple of days, and I'll just watch those, and that'll be fine. Um, but yeah, I mean, outside of Tool, I'd probably go see them again, if and when they ever release a new album. Which I'm not one of these people that's waiting for it. I mean, I haven't even listened to Confession Time. I haven't even listened to 10,000 Days all the way through. Um, but but yeah, it'll be interesting. Other than that, I really don't see myself going to any big shows. Just because it's just not the same. You know what I mean? It's just not the same. And I was glad that I got to see a lot of these bands in their prime. Um, in their prime and before anybody knew who they were for some of them. You know what I mean? Like for those of us that went to Trout Air in the summer of 90, must have been, um, or maybe 91, for the Clash of the Titans tour with Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer, with with a relatively unknown Alice in Chains opening up. Um, that was pretty. I mean, just that alone. I mean, true. I got there late, so I didn't see a lot of Alice's set. Um, we got there. Actually, I think we missed most of it. I think we got there just as they were going into Man in the Box, and everybody started jumping because they knew that song. Um, I did see Alice in Chains a couple years later at First Ave in '93, I believe, and that should have been good. Should have been phenomenal, but um, from the first note, it was the tour for Dirt, and they opened up with Damn That River, and from the first note, I could tell that Lane's voice was just screwed, and it was so vocally it was not a good show. Musically, it was a good show, and it was great to see them in such an intimate space as First Ave, but it was vocally it was not a good show. It was a little painful to get through. Um, but yeah, I mean to have been able to see the change, um, kind of the changing of the guard in the early '90s with the grunge stuff, which I jumped on hook, line, and sinker, um, to, and then going through grunge peaked, and then we have post grunge, and then so pretty much every rock album post 1994 was called post grunge, even though none of it really was, and then we're just a sliver of time away from new metal. New metal had already, because obviously bands like Korn and Deftones and those kinds of bands were already up and running by 95 and put out an album or two. Um, but it wasn't until obviously 97, 98 when things really kind of went haywire. Um, but even by that time, I had kind of stopped listening to popular music and was focusing getting my classic rock education. Um, so yeah, I have no idea where this is going. We're over a half hour. That's way too long for what's supposed to be a quick update. Anyway, but promised you a video a week, and so I'm gonna give you a video a week of whatever the heck I want to talk to you about. Anyway, that being said, have a good night. Have a good week. Um, we will see you all later.